your herb content these days? Like everybody kind of fluctuates, and as we grow older, it all changes and gets legal. So with this podcast, I like just to hearing about, just like people's morning routine, where are you at with your relationship with cannabis?
I am gung-ho 1,000,000%. And my favorite thing about New York, I was saying New York is like Amsterdam and Paris had a baby, because the whole entire city smells like weed. There's bikes all over the place. You about to get hit by a bike when you step in the street. Everyone's out eating in the streets. I loved it.
Cannabis coffee hour. Now, what's your opinion, Creeper? I know you're a fitness guru and it's some mental. What is your morning routine like?
I definitely drink coffee, homie.
Mm-hmm.
I hit a little. I'm not like back in the day, because I just turned 40, homie, on Saturday, you know?
Dude, congratulations. That's a blessing.
Yeah, thank you, homie. I appreciate it. But like back in the day, homie, in my 20s, definitely I would wake up and, you know, I would do a bong toke or whatever. Yeah. And to be like, all right, because this is just how the day goes. Like, hit the bong toke, whatever.
This is just a far side. Yeah, get the day.
Yeah, stuff like that. Underground, socially conscious, elevated conscious, hip hop.
1950s, you know, American culture in terms of cannabis all kind of stems. I mean, it really, I can't say it started there, but it definitely took root.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, the Bay Area is where I got indoctrinated, got into cannabis, because all my Bay Area comedy friends, I'd come up from LA and visit them, and they were pretty much all of them were into weed, so it was pretty prevalent. And then that's really how I got into it. You know, I was a late bloomer.
Yeah,
I didn't really get into weed till my late 20s.
Well, I don't know if we could even talk about it, but the idea of like, basically it's like two dudes inherit a weed farm. Like it is that's the essential log line. But I love now all of the Murder Mountain shit where you can also play with the holdouts, right? Because now Humboldt is a whole world of like people that refuse to go legit because they like the outlaw lifestyle.
Yes. Did you watch Murder Mountain? I talked about it on this podcast, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I went deep. Like everybody was yelling Tiger King. And I was like, yo, the ZZ Top documentary is ill.
I love the ZZ Top documentary because the ZZ Top documentary made me realize, like, they were like kind of like weird art outlier nerds.
Yes.
Where they came up with the packaging.
Yeah. And it was all because of Nirvana. It was all because when Nirvana happened, nobody in the music business had any idea what it was about. And they were just like signing bands if they didn't understand it. I mean, like the Melvins were on Atlantic, man. I mean, come on. The fucking Boredoms were on Reprise. Yeah.
Wow.
Like they were just like, we don't get this. Let's give them money. Wait, let's get them before anybody else does. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the rise of the alt world. It was the rise of all those dirty record stores that we all went to go get fucking nothing matters. The first Louder Than Love album, I got that first. Like, I was early into Soundgarden. Like, it was just this wave of kind of just different than cheese rock that's been going on underneath it all forever, that wasn't really recognized by the mainstream, and then all of a sudden you guys were the mainstream. And you're buying long limos with jacuzzis and shit like that to go do an album.
No. We had no limos. Took a lot of car services though. Took a lot of like very long car service rides, up to Washington Heights and shit. Because I'm getting deep into meditations and stuff. And once you start naming things, they say the suffering happens. And I think a lot of that is once you start putting things into a box and start separating things, it's categorizing. It's not the best sometimes.
It kind of kills it too. I mean, once you give it a name, it becomes static, and it kind of becomes a thing of the past that people try to emulate. For example, I think when Nirvana was doing, Bleach, or maybe writing their second album, they were thinking, oh, we're a grunge band. They never thought about it that way. You know, and I don't think bands that like us sometimes get called stoner rock. We never thought of it that way. And usually the one hallmark that you're not a stoner rock band is that if you call yourself a stoner rock band.
Yeah.
You know, it's well, what are you doing? Are you trying to just make music that comes from the heart, or are you trying to emulate something that goes along with a fashion and a brand and all this and that? And usually those things kind of arrive DOA.
Man.
Yeah, everybody loves him. All as far as like maybe different guys to people who aren't drummers. All right, Steve Jordan, huge. First time I heard him was on the first Blues Brothers album, Briefcase Full of Blues. Then I got the Made in America one. And then all of a sudden he was the late night drummer on Letterman. And then he was with Expensive Winos with Keith Richards.
Yeah.
And by then I started playing drums. He was on the cover of Modern Drummer. And I have just followed his career. That great documentary that Keith did when he put together the band with Chuck Berry.
Yes, with Keith Richards, that one, Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, like that movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's just incredible. And then, you know, they have the big argument in there. And I just remember Steve, like, there's a point where Keith wasn't playing something right. And so the band would kind of drop out as Chuck and Keith were getting into it. Every time they dropped out, like, you get to hear Steve Jordan's groove without all the other instruments, just for like a half a second. And just how incredible it was. I've always
like
been
that
into
Muscle Shoals, like groove.
I didn't remember, but yeah, that like one clip played.
You were like, everybody in show business is high. He was so funny. He goes, you go, look at the cameraman, he's high. And the whole crew started laughing. And I was standing at the side, and I was like, oh, this motherfucker just stole the scene. This kid is no joke, man. And then tell me about working on the Judd Apatow movie as I light this spliff up, man.
Dude, he's the man, bro. He just makes the environment so awesome that you can be so creative.
Like this will, I'm only here for 3 days. Like this amount of weed should pretty much cover me, because I had one of these before. I got a fresh one out, but I could only take like 4 or 5, you know, until it like